Hey y'all, welcome to a special edition of the Swamp Talk podcast on Saturday night instead of our usually scheduled Thursday night. How y'all doing out there? I want to invite our first guest on, Shooting Gallery New England. How's it going, brother?
What's crack-a-lackin', dude? I'm so happy to be back on the show. You kind of, no pun intended, went dark for a couple days.
Yeah, things have been really busy this year with deer and, excuse me, shortly after Christmas, me and the missus both ended up coming down with COVID and was sick for a little while on and off after that. But everything's good now, and just wanted to come on here and talk about what happened this week. Not necessarily going into specifics about it, but the implications of what happened with our fellow YouTuber Matt with CRS could potentially have happened to any of us content creators, and I felt like it's a topic that's definitely worth a swamp talk discussion.
Goddamn right it is.
And just to point out or mention for y'all, I have put it in the description as well, and it's also at the bottom of the screen. If you do feel like pitching in any to help out with the family and the legal fund, the GoFundMe is on the bottom ticker and in the description of the video.
Nice.
But before we get into the main topic of tonight, why don't you talk about some of the stuff that you got going on?
What do I have going on? Right now we got about close to 19 inches of snow on the ground, so I got that going on. It's been a cold winter day here in New England, but now I got a lot of good stuff coming down the pipe, man. I got my review of the Monstrum Tactical G3 1:6x24. Focal plane optic coming out soon. I've been trying to edit it all day, but the computer is. I'm honestly thinking I'm gonna have to join the club and get a Mac because like my computer is just slow as all hell. What up, Rob? Am I still on the stream?
Sorry, I heard something about a Mac, so I had to clear that up.
Sorry, and yeah, I got that coming. I got two clean and lubricate videos coming down the pipe. We're gonna next be going into our full length review of the JSD Supply Revelation slide for the SIG 320.
That's a video that I'm looking forward to.
Oh, I cannot wait. I've been shooting a lot of that every Wednesday now. Some of the guys at the shop, we've been coming in early and, just to stay consistent, like, hey, let's shoot 50 rounds. And all of us have dots on it. So our pistols, and I was shooting the 320 that I built for the channel this Wednesday, and man, that is a smooth shooter. I gotta figure out the trigger on it though. It's usually by the last round. I have to really squeeze for that trigger to go off. I don't know if it's just it still needs to be broken in. Like right now, I'm up.
Is that the factory part trigger, or is that
it's
market trigger?
Yeah, it's the Pat Most Arms parts kit, so I'm guessing it's an OEM type parts kit. If it keeps going, I think I might upgrade like an X trigger because they do come with the Apex trigger spring. Maybe that will lighten up the trigger pull. But man, that JSC Supply is, I am in love with it. Absolutely. And it comes cut for a Holo Sun, not a Delta Point or Sig Romeo, because I mean I like the Delta Point platform, but I'm a Holo Sun fanatic. I love everything Holo Sun makes.
I just wanted to point out Joe Morgan's comment that ATF is bothering the Amish now.
Really?
I don't know what that's about, but
that's something I haven't even heard of.
It doesn't surprise me.
What the hell are you sipping on there?
It's just root beer.
I was like, that looked very tea-like consistency. I'm like, is that sweet tea? Really? Sweet tea?
No. I'm not a big sweet tea drinker, but that is the drink of dominance down here, for sure. But yeah,
it's a power.
When I asked you what you had going on, that was a little bit of a lead in. I figured you was gonna mention something about that snow.
Yeah. Oh man, it is. So horrific. I had to drive. My mother is a nurse, so I had today off. The shop closed because of the massive storm up here, and but since she's a nurse, she's essential personnel. Every snowstorm, she always had to go into work because, like, no matter what, since she's a nurse, that's kind of her job. And me and my wife both had today off, but we had the guy come in, plow the driveway. Like right at that point, we were just about a foot, but now we're sitting close to. I'll show you guys. You're gonna get a look into the basement command here. That's what we got.
Yeah,
going
that's
on
a
for
little
snow.
bit more than a little snow.
Yeah, that's a lot of snow. That's just an inkling of what we got going on.
That's almost enough for the outdoor fridge thing where you just stick your stuff in.
I know. I should put my beer out there. Yeah, I should put my beer out there and see if it keeps it cold. But you know what?
I put the link out there for anybody that would like to hop on. I'll go ahead and make it a free-for-all night. Anybody that wants to come on and talk about things, you're welcome to come on.
Yeah, hell yeah. But yeah, no. So I took I stole the keys to my wife's SUV because I have a little. Look at that, Rob. I stole the keys to the SUV and I drove my mother to work. And clearly, no one in New England wants to plow the roads, so the roads are a little bit difficult to say the least. Drew Bradley, I'm right now, man. We sell flamethrowers at work. I'm about to buy one because I am all set with this snow. It moved up to triplets, Rob. No longer twins. It's triplets. Cody, we still got to make that shirt idea though to get back at these guys.
Oh, it's gonna happen. I was just waiting to double check with you to make sure you still got the green light.
No, green light is like go and do it. Just make sure you make them 5X so I can rock them.
Yep, we're gonna do it. You want to hop on and mention anything, Rob? You're welcome to. I can send you the link if you want me to send it to you instead of being in the chat.
We have tracked snowblower. Oh yeah. That's the thing. I shovel because I have a gravel driveway, so if we did a snowblower, it would just get all the rocks we get in the blades, and I have a brick front walkway. The bricks aren't fully even, so it doesn't work for a snowblower. So it is what it is. But I just want to take a moment to also throw here. Look at that. See that third place? See that trophy right there? I can't stop showing this trophy off wherever I am. Third place gunmakers match, regional gunmakers match. 14 Tusk, by the way, Rob.
Pop that back up again.
I am taking over the stream. I love this. When Cody's clicking buttons left and right. Okay.
No, I just full screened you so you could show the trophy.
Oh, okay. Check the private chat. I don't know what that is about, but looks like you might have got hacked, Cody.
Yeah, I see someone in there keep trying to block them.
That's kind of violent. So do you have moderators on this chat, dude? I would definitely put moderators.
No, I'm on the laptop now. I'm opening YouTube to try to make a moderator. Are you in the chat on there too?
No, I am not in the chat because I am on. I can be. Just in case. That I don't know how the private chat got that, but.
Well, I noticed some comments from someone in the regular chat too.
Yeah. All right, I'm in the chat. All right, cool. I'm a moderator. Poor SG&E. Why is it poor me, Drew Bradley? Joe Morgan. Why me? Why poor me? Yeah, is that coming through? Yeah, dude, you might have gotten hacked because I'm looking at the private chat right now and it keeps popping up.
Yeah, it ain't hacked. It's just might have been a mistake to post the link in the chat. Let me see if I can take that out.
Yeah, take the link out, definitely. Is there anybody in the back showroom or the?
No, I kicked it out and I made it where anybody that does want to come in has to authenticate.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because
But
Rob's
at
looking
least
for a
it's
link. Sorry, guys. We're dealing with some tech difficulties here, making sure nothing's showing up in the stream that's not supposed to be. And Cody's showing off his nostalgia text tones here. But yeah, so yeah, I'm dealing with the storm, and that's I'm gonna be hopping off here probably around 9 o'clock because I gotta get my mom from work. But I don't think. Do you even get snow in Mississippi, or is it just all humidity?
very, very, very rarely. We if we get something, it's usually going to just be a little bit of ice on the ground. We got snow this year, and when we get snow, if we get 2 inches, that's a shut down the whole everything.
That's
But I mean,
down 2 inches. That's
at the same time, there's no plows because it just doesn't happen enough to justify the maintenance and upkeep to have a warehouse barn full of winter equipment that you might use once in 4 years. So what they do is they'll lay down sand on like bridges and stuff, and if it's really, really going to get bad, they might do salt. But other than that, that's all it is down here. And no one down here is trained to drive on snow. Like, I don't know. I'm pretty sure that it would be that way in Massachusetts. I know that it is in New York, where to get your driver's license, they like simulate you hitting a patch of like black ice on how to, to make sure, turn into the slide to straighten up and stuff like that. So you have them basic skills the same as say testing parallel parking.
I'm
But
lucky
here,
I can
they
parallel
don't do
park.
that.
I've never parallel parked in my entire life. I know how to. I don't think I've ever parallel parked in my entire life. Did you get Rob the link?
Yeah, I just finally got it sent to him on Facebook.
Yeah, he's saying let me in. But yeah, no, it got to the one point where I was driving through the town my mom works in, and it was not a main road, but like it was essentially a main road because everyone drives on it, and it was worse than the highway. Like it was crazy, and like it was so cold and icy that my windshield wipers were just getting ice collected on the blades. So I'm only looking through like this much of a gap on my windshield. I'm like, oh no. Then I pulled over and my windshield wiper blades, like I thought the motor went, but all the ice collected from the heat inside on my windshield. So all that slush got down and then turned to ice. So now it just froze my windshield wipers. I was like, oh no, what did I do? And I took a little ice blade and I just stabbed my front of the car and I started working again. As I'm driving home, I'm like,
as
I'm going to Florida.
Yeah, dude, you don't really got to mess with that down here a whole lot.
Yeah.
And we got Rob now.
Yo, what's up?
How's it going?
What's up?
Good. Dude, you live in New England. Shouldn't you be used to driving in snow and ice?
Yeah, I'm used to it. Do I like it? No, I don't.
Yeah, we get lots of snow out here.
Oh yeah, you're in Utah. I can't imagine the snowstorms you guys get.
You know, it just
a little birdie told me that the reason that they moved where they did was so they could ski, and you got to have snow to ski.
Yeah, the cool thing is like we have no snow on the ground at all right now. It's 43 degrees or something today and sunny. So the cool thing about like I've lived in Denver and Utah, Salt Lake City area multiple times, and typically what ends up happening is that you drive up to the snow. The valley, depending on the winter, can either have very little snow or no snow or a ton of snow, depending on the year. So some years we'll get like 3 feet blizzards like every couple of years, and then some winters you just don't get much snow at all. So in the valley, which is nice because you can go drive to the snow.
Yeah, but you don't have to worry about the driving in the snow so much.
Oh wait, no, I mean it gets nasty, but I don't know. We're just kind of used to it. You get bougie Michelin tires, and you get the track snow blower, and you're just like, it's just part of life. I think the worst place I live for driving in snow is Wyoming, though. Wyoming in the wintertime is brutal for driving. So just because of the blowing snow, it gets the roads will shut down for days at a time. The interstates will shut down for days at a time. So out west, if you come out west, literally, depending on where you are, there's gates that they will literally on the on and off ramps or the on ramps to literally block them. So when the blizzards come through, they'll just shut down I-80 or I-90, depending.
Wow.
Well, how hot does it get there in the summertime?
103.
Yeah, y'all are in that semi-desert area.
We're high desert here.
Yeah.
So the valley floor is about 4,500 feet above sea levels where we are. So it is classified as high desert. But so what's new with you guys?
Actually, yeah, that's what I was just going to say. Working a whole lot, but got a lot of stuff coming for the channel new this year. Got a couple of new podcasts that's going to be coming out in addition to the Swamp Talk. But that's going to be announced Monday.
Cool. You guys missed out. SHOT Show rocked.
Yeah,
was kicking myself in the ass.
We wanted to go, both of us. Me and him was just talking about that, but I'm definitely going to be going next year, though. I already got time set aside.
Cool. That'll be cool. It'll be fun. I just drove down. The only thing that sucks is my car got broken into by crackheads.
Yeah, I've seen that. He posted pictures on Instagram. They straight up busted his window out.
Yeah, like the first night in the hotel parking garage, they broke out my driver's side door window, and they just rummaged through. Like they didn't. The only thing that was in the car at the time was my GPS, and they didn't take it. But they just like ramsacked like my different center columns looking for change. It's totally a crackhead move. The problem is there's no glass because of the supply chain shortage. It's all special order, and so. There was no glass. I couldn't get a window. I had to drive back with a broken window.
Ooh, that's
450 miles in the winter. But I'm prepared. See, but I'm prepared because when I drive a lot out west, because I was like in Idaho yesterday. I was in Wyoming 2 weeks ago. I got to go to Wyoming. I drive a lot around the mountain states for my day job. And I went out here though, like, because it's not like living east of the Mississippi where there's people everywhere. So like, even on I-80, you can literally go in different places, 60, 80 miles without anything. No radio waves, no AM radio, no anything, no cell phone signal. So whenever I travel, I usually make sure I got a gun. I usually have like a full set of all my heavy winter gear, blankets, shovels, water, everything in my car. I just always have that. And so this show was real. So I had all my all my heavy winter clothes, and it was all in the hotel room with my gun and everything else. And then, so literally I just like put all my heavy winter gear on. It was just loud, put headphones on. So it was like snowmobiling for, 6 hours. But we adapted and overcome. I wasn't cold. So it was just loud because I had no window. But I did have to go back to a
off-roading thing in the that kind of weather. Do folks like go four-wheeling and like not like four-wheelers, but like Jeep off-roading, trail riding in the snow stuff?
I guess when it's really, really snow, people ride. My neighbors ride their snowmobiles and stuff down the street and four-wheelers and stuff like that. I know when I was a kid growing up in Michigan, every time I went a blizzard out, I just go put a big chain on. I had an old CJ5, and I would just literally put a chain out and go pull people out of ditches. That was a hobby.
Yeah.
So everybody, out here though, lots of people. We're just used to driving, and people that live out here are used to driving in snow and driving in mountain snow and stuff. So people usually have snow tires or studded snow tires and chains and stuff like that. So, we're just kind of normal driving out here for us. When it's really snowy, you don't drive if you don't have to.
Yeah, that's pretty much the best rule. But yeah, I'd want to touch on what the main topic for today is, about what had happened with CRS, and the gist of the why he ended up being arrested was basically for sponsorship and accepting money, and then his sponsorship working out and doing what paid video ad is supposed to do, which is make more sales. And then all of a sudden now it's a crime.
Well, here's I read it's interesting. All these cases always get really, like, I think the 2A world is so quick to jump on and either attack or defend, right? So it's like these things are always like, I don't know enough about all the evidence, but I did download the indictment and read it twice. And I thought it was some interesting stuff. So, like, I guess the question is, when it comes to these kind of things, one, are these laws good about machine gun bans and all? Fuck no. None of those things should be legal. All right. So let's start there. All right. I think most of us agree the laws are dumb. Okay. All right. Great.
Yeah. I just want to pause you just a second and clarify that that's all I'm wanting to talk about here.
Pause.
The hypotheticals, like you said, of, all of us pretty much can agree, like you said, on the laws and stuff like that, on our feelings on it, but not specifically what actually details that some folks might or might not know, or might be twisting on the CRS case itself, but more of
Well, I think the CRA case is not normal. Now here's Crump's bias, so we're not going to agree on some things because he's buddies with the guy, so he's biased on this. I watched your video, so I know you're buddies with him. You went to your kid's birthday party or something. So my only concern is like anything else. Like, are these cards? I think the big thing is not that sponsorships are going to everybody's going to get stung for sponsorships, right? I mean, there were some dodgy things about, like, literally money being overnighted in boxes rather than someone sending a check. So obviously that's not normal in a sponsorship, right? Normally in sponsorships, someone doesn't go buy you purses that are very like Louis Vuitton purses. I'm just saying that's not conventional sponsorship stuff. So I don't think that, like, if you're a normal YouTuber and you're doing a normal relationship with a sponsor, that's just normal, like they'll pay you and and things like that. I don't think you have anything to worry about. I think this case is interesting. I think the big thing what comes down to, like, are those cards technically readily convertible? And that's what it all comes down to. Are those cards readily convertible into lightning links or not? And I don't know enough about that. And how you do, if that's going to be, if they're readily convertible. Now, I'm not saying they should or shouldn't be, right? I always said, I think I think Ronald Reagan fucked us on gun, when it comes to machine guns. So I'll 100% say that. So let's take it from the legal perspective. It's not about a justification of whether these laws should be legal or not, or constitutional or not. I would argue they're not, but there's lots of violations of unconstitutional laws that get people in trouble. So the question is, are lightning link etched cards machine guns or not, because they could be readily convertible? And that readily convertible part is the thing that I don't know. I'm not an attorney. I don't know. What do you think, Crump? The readily convertible part is, I think, what this whole isn't that what the whole case really hinges on?
No.
Okay.
Not at all. It has nothing to do with that. The charges, maybe against Justin, yes, but against Matt, no.
I got the indictment open right here. So
it's the conspiracy. Not every charge is against him.
No, seven of the charges, including conspiracy, are against Matt. The two charges that Matt didn't get were not the structuring / money laundering charges, but all the ones of transferring an illegal machine gun. Matt is charged with those.
Sure, Matt's not charged with transferring any machine guns.
Okay, so I'm looking at right now. The document I have is the indictment. I'm looking at the indictment, case number 321 -
Read through them, and the state is not trying to say that he. If you listen to the state's case, where they laid it out, They're stating that he pushed traffic to the website.
Right. Well, I'm all right. I'm literally all right. So count one is the conspiracy. Count two, both guys charged did knowingly transfer firearms and aid and abet firearms. Transfer firearms. That is a machine gun conversion device. That's count two.
They're charging him with aiding and abetting the transfer of a machine gun because he pushed traffic to the website.
I know. But that's what I'm reading here. Did knowingly
but they're not saying that he transferred any of them.
I'm saying I'm count
so
two.
Readily convertible. I've talked to multiple lawyers. They have no idea. Like even like lawyers who aren't on our side, they have no idea why he's being charged. The only thing that they're saying is he's probably being charged to try to flip him to testify against Justin to say Justin knew that they were machine guns.
Okay, my point is whether or not they're machine guns will be determined if they're readily convertible. That's generally the standard for ATF when you look at something like this. So
no, the ATF is not even going with the readily convertible argument in this one.
Okay, well it says
they're going with these are machine guns. The readily convertible is they're not saying it's convertible to machine guns. They're saying that the card is right now a machine gun.
Okay. On or about November 14, 2020, the Middle District of Florida, elsewhere, both the defendants did knowingly transfer firearms and aid and abet the transfer of firearms. That is machine gun conversion devices.
But not readily convertible. Machine gun conversion.
No, readily convertible is not a law. Readily
like
convertible
is auto sears, lightning links, stuff like that.
This is a lightning link.
Yeah, but that's a machine gun conversion device. The readily convertible I think you're getting it mixed up with machine gun conversion devices and readily convertible.
Do you have is there a different law? Because that's kind of under, statute 58458. I'm just saying I'm just reading the indictment. So I think whether or not these things are machine guns or not will be determined by whether they're readily convertible. That's what I'm saying. That's my opinion. Because because obviously it's a piece of metal. So if the government's going to
that's not the state's argument.
Okay,
I don't think that's part of the issue here. I think the issue starts from they already have determined it is a machine gun now. That's not even in question.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
That's what they're saying.
Yeah, but
because it's readily convertible. It says in here because it's readily convertible.
It says a machine gun conversion device, not readily convertible. There's a huge difference.
Really?
Yes.
That's the same reason why a registered transferable lightning link or auto sear is serialized itself as an individual, as a separate component, because that piece by itself, whether it's installed in something or not, is considered a machine gun.
Yeah. Okay. Readily convertible is, hey, you can take this and readily convert it to a machine gun. A machine gun convertible device under the statute is considered a machine gun.
Right. Well, it says in Section B under conspiracy, right? It says, a quote unquote, beginning in October 20, continuing through July 2021, Middle District did knowingly, willfully combine, conspire, confederate, and agree with each other, both and unknown to the grand jury, to commit offenses against the United States, specifically to transfer firearms, that is, machine gun conversion devices constituting machine guns, and or which firearms are then registered. So then we need to go, what is a machine gun conversion device?
That's laid out in federal law. That's anything lightning link, lightning links, auto sears.
I know what those are.
Well, then you would know that it has nothing to do with readily convertible.
Okay, not readily convertible. So they're saying that this is a functioning lightning link. So I guess you're trying to twist my words, but the essence of what I'm saying is whether or not this is a machine gun or a readily convertible machine gun is what the case hinges on. And that's what they need to prove or disprove, because if these are not machine guns as they're alleging or conversion devices, then the other charges don't matter.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I agree with you on
That's
that.
why. That's
but-
what I said. I said the
but
case
there-
depends on if these are machine guns and what, and
But
if
there's
they're
a lot
charged.
easier way to get through it too, without even
Okay.
having to go there. It doesn't really
So-
matter if they get the term machine guns. If they can prove, which they don't have to prove, the government will have to prove that he transferred it, which they can't do. So that's why it falls back to the conspiracy saying, hey, he took sponsorship money. Since he took sponsorship money and he was responsible for a lot of the sales by driving traffic to the website,
right.
then that, I mean, I've been listening to, I watched the whole of all the hearings so far.
Okay.
That's the whole thing. So what I would do if I was his lawyer, which I'm not and have no outside information, is I would argue that this is a violation of not only this is a violation of free speech. Also, you can say this. NBC advertised Volkswagen, right? Volkswagen was criminally charged with modifying exhaust reports because the NBC took money from Volkswagen to advertise it. Does that mean NBC is a conspirator? The wide open triggers, does that mean everyone who advertised a BDU is a conspirator? So this is a big can of worms. This is major. And
the topic that what you're talking about now, Crump, and what Joe Morgan commented in here is what I was trying to get at. Not so much the specifics on the details of whether this particular thing is or isn't a machine gun or a device or this and that. It's the implications that all of these things that's going on could be having.
Well, it comes down to the threshold of defining what conspiracy is or not. So did he conspire to do something knowingly illegal, or did he just take a normal off-the-cuff sponsorship, and is he responsible at that point? So there's going to be thresholds, and I don't know what they are, but there's certainly going to be a threshold because there's a difference, right? If you're acting as a partner in something versus being a third-party independent marketer, right? And whether or not you knew it was illegal or not, or in the case, let's assume for the sake that it is an illegal act they're conspiring to do and they're knowingly doing something illegal. I mean, there's going to be a threshold for that. And I guess I don't know what that is. I know it's just reading the indictment. There's some interesting things that, at least to me, I mean, let's start with he's an SOT, right? So he's an FFL. So he should know that those devices are starting to get into, let's just say, a gray area, right? And I watched a video from Matt, and he knew it was getting in a gray area. He even admitted that in one of his videos when he was talking about doing the GoFundMe for the Irvin guy. So he knew it was a gray area, right? And then he took money in a very non-conventional way. Money being
is that
cash.
illegal to take money in cash? Is that illegal to take items for sponsorship? No, it's not. That's not even. That I mean, if you're doing that, you pay me in cryptocurrency.
Let me fucking finish. Let me finish.
For my sponsorship.
Just let me finish.
We can say that's unconventional.
Dude, just let me finish my point.
Okay.
You're just interrupting me. You're really emotional. I understand he's your buddy, okay? I'm not saying he did anything wrong or bad. I'm saying is all these things it comes down to is there's a threshold. Right. And these things get built up in court. It's not, any one of those things cherry picked, of course, may not be, illegal at all. When you combine them, though, they certainly could lead or indicate to things like intent. And conspiracy is often built on things like intent. So that's the kind of case they typically have to make to meet that threshold. I'm not saying it is met here. I don't know. I don't know enough about this. I don't know what their phone calls consisted of. I think it is, non-conventional things are going to be brought up in court, though, so it should be at least thought about that's going to be brought up in court, and they're going to have to deal with that because it looks dodgy as shit. I mean, from the outside, if someone's just paying you in a box of cash overnight to you, that's dodgy.
I got to interrupt too, just because your form of compensation is considered an alternative form. I deal with bartering all the time. And as someone that's a prepper, I'm sure you do a lot of bartering too. Just because we transact or do something that is unconventional, does that automatically make us suspicious?
Well, hold on. So, yeah, I mean, It could, absolutely. And when you're talking about something like conspiracy, and if you're doing something to avoid being detected, that absolutely comes into play. That's just how it works. I mean,
But then that goes back to why you're doing it, and not the fact that you're just bartering. Let's just stick to bartering for
right.
an example. Just because I'm bartering for something, does that mean that I'm being suspicious? Just because I'm bartering?
But not standalone, not necessarily, but it could. It depends on what the other circumstances are, and you got to take these things in totality. I'm saying that definitely looks dodgy. And then on the other end of it, structuring, which is definitely to avoid detection. So when two people or when someone's doing something to avoid detection, then that kind of plays into the conspiracy part. No, the other guy didn't
structure at all.
I didn't. I never said he did. John, can you listen? I said the other guy did.
He did, yeah.
He did.
Yeah. So what does that do with Matt? We're talking about CRS.
And we're talking about the case. I didn't think we were only talking about Matt.
We're talking about the case against CRS. And
yeah, that's what that's what I'm wanting to focus on, is particularly what's happening to CRS as it pertains to hypothetically any other content creator that could be in his shoes.
Which could be everyone right now.
Yeah.
Well, it all depends. It all comes down to, I mean, so if the concept is should a YouTube creator be concerned about when taking sponsorships? I think that is the question, right? So when you understand if you're doing something that's on the edge or gray, that there's higher risks with that, right? Would you agree with that? John just fell over. So I mean, it comes down to anytime you're doing something that's kind of on the gray or the fringe, there may be risks associated with that. So as a content creator, you probably need to look at, is this product legal? Is there something weird about it? Is there something weird about the people that are trying to get me to take the sponsorship? You got to evaluate it in those terms, right? So if you want to protect yourself as a content creator, you probably need to look at that. Like, are they being weird? Is the person that wants to hire you doing something sketchy, for instance? So you're going to want to take that into account as a creator if you're trying to protect yourself.
Well, how would you know about the structuring and other stuff like that?
I would say if someone's going to try to overnight me cash in a box, I'm going to say that's probably non-conventional. It's going to be one red flag. It doesn't mean it's a deal killer, but it's definitely a red flag.
Yeah, I don't see how they're prosecuting them.
I'm not saying I'm all right. So I'm not talking in the legal side. We're talking about as a content creator. How do you protect yourself from getting in trouble by associating and possibly taking sponsorships from something that may be illegal that could get you in trouble, right? I mean, wouldn't that be what the topic is? So what are the red flags? So what are the red flags?
How about BDU?
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna get at, Crump. How are as something that you can go and buy right now that is 100% legal. So take, for example, the wide open triggers from BDU that was at different range day events, and only until the last week or so, then all of a sudden it's an overnight type of deal. Now that's not legal. So anybody that promoted it beforehand, you're automatically a conspirator for trying to sell something that's illegal, that was completely illegal at the time.
Has that come up at all?
That's the hypothetical type scenario.
Well, I don't think we have any cases of that.
Like well, that's pretty much.
Well, this is the first case of anyone ever being prosecuted for taking sponsorship money in the gun world. So
that's what we're getting at. This is the first time this come up, and these is the types of things that it could be leading to stuff like that.
I think what it's also doing is this is going to make a lot of people that create content in the gun world a lot more, not on edge, but they're going to take, they're going to do a lot more due diligence. Then again, my whole thing with this is
Do you know why
My
they?
whole thing with
Do you know why
this
they
is-
charge him a conspiracy for the for the GoFundMe? And this is what they said in court. They said if Justin was able to defend himself and beat the case, that means that they could go back into business with each other. So therefore, that was conspiracy. That was
doesn't
their
make any
actual reason.
sense.
Yeah, that don't sound right
Yeah,
to
that
me,
doesn't-
but I'm
that-
definitely no.
That
I'm
doesn't
no
make sense
legal
to me, but
I was listening in with a lawyer, and the lawyer's like, none of this stuff is illegal.
Yeah, that's what all the points that I've heard coming out of things that's going on is, to me, I would think that that's perfectly fine. Same thing I said at the time. A product is legal. What's wrong with buying
but
it,
also
selling it,
when it
advertising it?
So again, devil's advocate here, because I don't have an opinion. I don't know anything about Matt. Never watched a video of the guy in my life. I don't know anything about him. You know, I've read the indictment. That's what I've done so far. But we all know, anybody who's in this area, there are certain products that are really freaking fringe and they're really gray. And we know government wants to make examples of them, right? So that might be things like maybe solvents traps, right? Lightning link kind of products. Apparently, reflex types of triggers and binary types of triggers. Those things have been publicly out there as things that are very, very on the edge, right? So I guess the question is, a content creator.
Got to stop you there for just a second. Hold on. Shooting Gallery New England's fixing to have to leave us. I want to give him a chance to do his closing, check him out, and all of that good stuff.
Yep. Sorry, I got dig out a little early. I go get my mom from work in a little bit, and the storm is messing with my internet. So, but yeah, check me out on Shooting Gallery New England, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, all over the place. And I hope to talk to all you guys soon. Thanks for having me on. Sorry, it's been kind of a short little visit.
Yeah, I mean,
awesome, no problem. Glad to have you on, brother.
See you later, man.
Yeah.
All right.
I
Later,
got a
guys.
question for someone in the audience. See you, Joe. Alan Powell, did you report CRS to the ATF? You guys hear that?
What?
Just a question for Alan Powell out there to see if he reported CRS to the ATF. For the whole thing. Okay. Yeah, that was a rumor going around, and I just wanted to make sure that was cleared up.
Just for people that's listening to the audio only, his response in the comments is a big hell no.
Yeah, I just wanted to get that cleared up, like in like real time. That's why I did not suggest anything. I just wanted to get that out there so everyone knows that Alan Powell did not report him to the ATF. There you go.
Yeah, that's another thing when things start getting real, like people's actually start getting arrested and stuff like that. Smirky, snarky type comments and stuff like that online and stuff start having a bigger weight to it on stuff that might just be like a rumor or a joke can easily take off and be took the wrong way. So I appreciate you pointing that out.
Yeah, no, just I mean, people have been texting me today about that, so I didn't think so, and I wanted to make sure that got it out there.
We got the goddamn bacon out there.
Yeah, it's a tricky case. I'm not going to say anything that's not public at this time. Just to say that we all need to support CRS because this has wider implications.
Yeah,
I talked to some really good attorneys.
Yeah, that's what I was wanting to try to focus on is not so much the actual case with CRS, or even specifically what's going on with CRS, but more of with this coming out, where this could lead. You know, if it goes down the road that the feds are wanting, you know, what could grow from this. And I think that y'all touched on both sides of that some.
Yeah, I mean it's scary, man. Think of all the BDU advertisers. How about if they make 80%? If they make 80% illegal, they're gonna go back and say, "Hey, these guys advertised 80%. You advertise GFD."
Well, 80% are not illegal at this point. Lightning links are. So I mean that would be a big difference there.
Well, how about the bump stocks? How about people that advertise for slide fire?
Yeah, that's one
slide fires were, but slide fires were legal, and then they redefined them. So
they didn't redefine them. They basically said that they didn't redefine anything with that.
They redefined what a machine gun was to incorporate a slide fire.
No, they didn't. What they did is they took another look at it, and this is what they said. They said, we misinterpreted the regulations. These are machine guns.
Mm-hmm.
And stuff like that.
Yeah, but at the time,
that's a perfect segue.
But there's a big difference between something that was at least there was a letter for it that said it was good, or it wasn't a previously illegal thing, versus going out and doing something that is clearly defined as an illegal thing or a regulated thing. There is a difference. There's a big difference there, though, at the time. So saying they're going to go back.
It depends on what you consider the lightning link, or not lightning link. What the manufacturer, not the advertiser, the manufacturer considers that card. And I think that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to flip them to say Justin considered that a lightning link and not a novelty. I think that's what they're trying to do.
But now you're not using my words, but you're saying what I said earlier, that it comes down to, is that card a lightning link in its current form or not? And that's what I was saying. And usually there's a threshold around that is it readily convertible. So that's usually how the ATF looks at that. And that was my point earlier. Now you're making my point.
No, but they're not talking about readily convertible though. That's the whole thing.
Okay, whatever.
I mean, I know it's a legal difference in there.
Okay.
Well, let me ask you this: how about the wide open triggers?
I don't know anything about them. I don't know anything about them.
The force reset triggers. The ATF
I know what a force.
Machine guns.
And
the ATF is saying they've always been machine guns.
I don't have enough information.
They're saying that. Okay, they're saying that they're drop-in auto sears, basically. Not basically. They're saying they're drop-in auto sears. They're a machine gun conversion device.
But that's a perfect example to go into what I was wanting to talk about earlier when you had brought up the whole scenario and everything that happened with the bump stocks being completely legal at this date, having a letter from the ATF saying completely legal at this date. And then they decide to change their stuff. Same thing with these triggers. I don't know for sure or not about the letters because the ATF has done change how they're doing stuff. It's a lot the last year of not doing letters and changing their minds more on different things. But like what we was talking about, these triggers was perfectly legal for a long quite a while. A lot of YouTube and non-YouTube content creators did videos on them, and especially like the BDU. BDU is a huge company. There's a lot of content creators that work with BDU.
Mm-hmm.
These triggers now were decided to the ATF decided, okay, they're machine guns. They're going and physically confiscating them now.
But I understand that.
They're going to go back and say that people helped promote these triggers now can be liable because they decided.
No, because they'd be grandfathered. So the thing is, lightning links are not grandfathered. So that's how are they grandfathered? Because lightning links are already illegal.
They're saying that the wide open triggers are illegal. They've always been illegal.
I can't understand both. You guys are mumbling on each other.
No, they're saying that the wide open triggers and the FRT triggers, force reset triggers, have been and always have been drop-in auto sears and has always been illegal. They have always been a machine gun conversion device.
Isn't that what they said about bump stocks too?
Yeah, but
They
they're not
changed
even
their
doing
mind.
like what's that?
But they changed their mind because there were letters that said bump stocks were not machine guns at various times, and there was different opinions that were changed. So my point is, if you want to talk the legal thing about what I'm saying is, if you have a letter that says at one point a manufacturer got a letter that said one thing and then the ATF changes their mind lately and they sold based on that one letter, that's very defendable. There's no one that says a lightning. Sure.
1 second. The force reset triggers, they've never had a letter from the ATF.
But I'm not defending force reset because I earlier said that I don't have enough information about that.
Yeah,
so I'm not talking.
It's the same situation. They're
okay,
the same thing.
Okay, well, it's not because Slide Fire did have a letter. So
I
that's
know
a different.
Fire,
so they do have a
talking
letter. So that's a different. But that's that's a very important nuance, though.
I'm talking about between force reset triggers and the auto key card. I'm not talking about bump stocks.
So like I said, I don't know anything about the force reset triggers and where they are legally. I just haven't been following that case. But I think this is where these nuances, to come back to like from creators, there's nuances here, right? And we get caught up in like none of this shit should be fucking illegal. Let's start there. Having laws that make these things illegal and having a crazy fucking overbearing ATF fucking changing their mind is fucking a problem. Okay. I'm not disagreeing with any of that. Okay. So the premise is, okay, we keep diving into the legalistic stuff. And I was trying to point out that we got to worry as content creators. So so given the landscape we have, okay, so hear me out. Given the landscape that we have, knowing that the ATF will fuck around and they'll play fast and loose and try to bankrupt you if you get close to being on the edge. Can we agree with that? Because right now, we know the government will fuck you, okay, and bankrupt you, okay, even if you didn't do anything constitutionally wrong and maybe even not anything legally wrong, but they're fucking going to make an example out of you because of whatever reason you pissed them off. So in that light, understanding that's the landscape we live in now, okay, the landscape we live in now. If you're a content creator, you may want to consider taking a look at that certain product categories that you might try to think about that the government may not like and want to like make an example out of, and you might want to avoid them.
Okay, my question to you is, this is my question to you, and let me restate it because maybe I'm not coming clearly. What do you think creators should do that took money from BDU? Okay, I know you haven't looked at the case, but
I haven't, so I don't have.
Let me just say this. Okay, just assume what I'm saying is right.
Like not even say for a specific product. Let's just say product A. You took money for product A.
Okay, product X. That the government said these are machine gun conversion devices. And not only did they say that, they said that last July, and people still took sponsorship money for a company that sold them. What do you think those creators should do?
I would probably identify an attorney just in case and maybe put some money aside that's in a safe place to possibly pay for a legal fund.
Okay,
that's what I would do. Question. That's what I would do right now, because I don't trust the fucking government to fucking follow the Constitution. And I think at this day and age, they're going to try to make examples out of people that have been thumbing their nose at them. And so, I would say they're not in a great position. But here's the thing. I'm in the crypto world too. And we've seen numerous times where certain influencers have marketed crypto projects that were either outright scams or outright illegal securities. But here's the nuance, right? And how you market even a crypto. There are nuances to it. If you tell people, dude, it's going to go to the moon, you're going to be making $1 million, blah, blah, blah. By the way, that's illegal to market, a potential illegal security that way. It's illegal. So some content creators and promoters got rightfully in trouble because one, they were promoting scams and they were involved in those scams. And so I can tell you, what's that?
Save the kids.
Save the kids. Absolutely. So here's the thing. There's a nuance. So there is a difference. And I don't know your buddy Matt's story, right? Okay. I only know what I can read from one side. That's what I know. But what I would say is that he probably knew he was doing something that was pretty gray, and he was taking risks doing that. And I think those of us in this space know that. I put it this way. Even if I owned a solvent trap, I wouldn't be public about it. Even if I just had one, maybe I wanted to screw around, fuck around a little bit, I wouldn't be putting it all over my Twitter. Okay. I'm just saying, okay, because I understand the landscape we live in. And I've been around this landscape with the overzealous government since before Waco. So I know what the ATF is capable of. And so even if I felt, and I'm just saying and as a public content creator, I would say, be careful on the product categories you're willing to take sponsorships for if you want to have longevity. Now, if you want to be an activist, right? If you want to fight the man, and you say, be done with it. And by the way, Matt was saying that in I did see him talk about that they were getting up to very close to illegal. He even said this in this video. I just watched it this afternoon. I didn't even know who Matt was before tonight or yesterday. And so I wanted to get an idea. So he's clearly stating in a video that he knows he's really up against the law. So there's no doubt in my mind, he knew he was in a gray area or close to a gray area. And so I think in the landscape that we have, you are knowingly taking risks doing that. I'm not saying you're doing something wrong legally. I'm not saying you're doing something immoral or wrong constitutionally. But from a practical standpoint, you're taking a risk doing that. And here's the thing. If you're going to take those risks because you're an activist, okay? And I don't care if you're a pot activist, a gun activist. If you're going to take risks, then you should already have your $250,000 legal fund put aside. Yeah, you should already have your kids. Hold on. You should already have your wife and kid financially taken care of before you take those risks.
Okay.
Because this is the landscape we're in.
You bring up pot, right? There are people right now that are advertising marijuana dispensaries, which is a federal crime.
Correct.
None of them have been arrested for doing that.
I don't know if none of them have been arrested for doing that. I
think none of them have.
None of them? Who are you talking about, though?
They've even Snoop Dogg and all those guys, they promote certain dispensaries.
Okay, so this comes. So if you're asking me, I can't even talk to you. So if you're asking me if the government is unfair, capricious, picking and choosing, absolutely, and I think that's my point.
But what I'm saying is, this case is like the first of its kind.
Yeah, I think from a creator standpoint, and this is what I don't know, because I have not seen all the evidence in this case yet. So I'm not going to make an opinion on that. I think the nuance is that, and I'm not speaking about the forced reset trigger because we don't know, but no influencer that I'm aware of or a creator has been arrested for that either yet, right? I don't know anybody that's been charged on that kind of thing. And I think why is probably because most of those forced reset triggers by most people's accounts felt that they were legal. I looked, so I think one of those websites, they have some guy who's an attorney who's giving testimony on the website. I don't know which one of them, but there's videos.
That's Kevin Maxwell. That's the owner of the company.
Right. So he's giving testimony on his website that he feels it's not illegal, and all these attorneys says it's not illegal. So so they're putting those testimonies on the website. So if I were a content creator and they wanted to sponsor me, I think it's reasonable for a content creator to say, look, I took in good faith that they recognized and didn't think this was illegal, so I didn't think it was illegal. And I think that that's a reasonable, plausible defense for a creator in a situation like that on something that previously didn't have an adjudication of being illegal. But I think on the other hand, a Lightning Link, which is very known to be a very regulated type of product, that's a little different. I think there's a nuance there.
But was it a Lightning Link?
Okay.
Thing.
Well,
etching of outline of what?
Well, at
the same time, all of this is getting back to the nitpickies of the specifics.
It's always the nitpicky.
It's not whether or not product A is legal or not, or product B is legal or not. It's the fact that they constantly change what they decide meets that criteria.
That's a source.
Sorry to dump out really fast.
Oh, now you're leaving. Thanks a lot, John. So no,
yeah, that's what I was saying. I think that y'all was both, I think, kind of going a little bit further down the rabbit hole on the specifics of a bump stock or a trigger or a lightning link. But that is the basics of like Crump was saying. This is the first time this has happened in relations to a content creator. That's what I was talking about on the podcast. Is it's not about a specific product.
Actually, I don't think it is, because so content creator, let's just say marketer. Okay. So the question is he, so I think, and I'm not an attorney, and I know Crump has very strong opinions because he has a very close, according to John, he's got a very close relationship with the gentleman. So he's probably going to be a little more biased, whatever way, right? Maybe he knows more information than I do. I think there's some strong nuance here, and between being, how, when it comes to being like a conspirator versus a third party, just like, do I have a relationship with the sponsor or not? Right? Am I doing something nefarious? And when you come into things like conspiracy law and trying, because that's what they're saying. They're saying he
getting confused right now is where that crossover between
and that's
taking a
where the line is, right?
Or being a conspirator for actually being in a crime.
So how generally at least how I understand court from my day job, right, is a lot of its intent and what did the people know? Okay. So I think the kind of things that you need to take into account to determine those kind of things, right? Whether or not let's just say he was a partner. Okay. When you say conspirator, you're really saying they're a partner in the project, in the crime, right? So The question is, all right, did he know it? So I would say things like, would a reasonable person think that Matt knew it was an illegal product? Let's start there. Yes or no? Okay. Matt was from what I could tell, he was an SOTFFL, and he talked about it being very close to being illegal. He said he acknowledged, at least, so let's start. He acknowledged it was a, let's say, gray project, right? So he knew and was vocal about it. So kind of coming off like an activist might, right? Because he basically was poking the bear a little bit. A lot of his videos did that. And so a jury, and by the way, he was indicted by a grand jury. So evidence was given to a third party jury to create this indictment. So understand, this went to a grand jury. So a jury's indicted him. It wasn't a prosecutor that indicted him. A grand jury indicted him. So evidence was given to a room full of normal, everyday people called to be in a grand jury. So understand that. That's how this indictment came along. So, but what's the fine line? So intent. So I would say he talked about it. So I think that where I would go if I was the prosecutor is that he talked about it being illegal product. There was, let's say, less than conventional means for way money was moved that might be trying to conceal the payments. That would be taken into account to see whether or not, it was dodgy. So for instance, I mean, I have a pretty big, Twitter. I used to do a podcast pretty regularly, right? So if someone was going to pay me, like I have Visa, like I have crypto, I have a lot of ways.
You said content creation is in essence just another type of marketing. And I know you have a lot of marketing experience.
Right. But what I'm saying is I'm saying is I would say it doesn't look good for Matt. It looks like he had a deeper relationship and a deeper tie to this person, the other guy, Irvin. And so that's what they're going to hang him on. And again, I don't think any of this shit should be illegal. It's retarded that this stuff's illegal, right? And I think the government's trying to make an example of him. And I think they're probably trying to make an example out of him because he was vocal against the government and critical of the government. So let's just go with what this is. So so understand, I think this is all bullshit. Of course, this is political. But here's the question, right? As a content creator, Matt's facing, at least the way I could count up, like 65 years right now in prison. And he probably, so he's facing 65 years and, maybe $100,000 in fines. Okay. So the question is, was it worth it? Let's start there. Was this worth it? As a content creator, is it worth it And are you willing to take those risks for things that are very gray? So I would suggest
that's also another point that needs to be that's coming from this, that a lot of, especially smaller creators and stuff like that, probably never considered anything like this could be a result of
course,
something that's like you said, it something might be in that gray area, but that gray area is still legal by the book. It's
here's the thing.
That edge.
Here's the thing.
Where that gray area definition comes into.
Well, I will tell you what I do right now. So, like with Tusk, I'm involved with helping talk to influencers and creators to help promote Tusk, right? John Crump. It's funny. We agree on like 99% of shit anyways. I know we're just both like, we're talking over each other and he's really upset because this is his friend. So I respect him and I respect that relationship, right? And so, but understand, when I'm talking to potential creators on how they talk about Tusk, I never tell them to talk about it as an investment. I tell them, don't talk about price. Don't talk about it going to the moon. Don't talk about it in that way. And I'm very deliberate about that. And so, and most of the creators that we've talked to, that's what the conversation I have with them, because I tell them, because this might be a gray area for you. And I don't want to see anybody get in trouble. So I deliberately go out and tell people to not market that way, even though it'd be more effective for our crypto project if we did, because people want to hear that. They want to hear something's going to go to the moon. But I tell the people that we are basically sponsoring not to talk about it that way, because I don't want them to put themselves in a great position. I want them to talk about what our project does, what the problem is we're trying to solve, the relationships and the wins we've had. So how, even with our project, because cryptocurrencies and the SEC and all that kind of stuff, those are heavily regulated industries too. And there's a lot of gray area. So I'm living in a gray area in a different industry, which has a lot of similarities to this kind of stuff. I would say, so you're a newer creator, right? You've been doing your stream for a few months now. What I would suggest to protect yourself, now, if you want to be an activist, do whatever the hell you want to do. But if you want to protect yourself and your family and not get dragged into federal court where you need to owe $250,000 and risk your ability to ever own a gun again and potentially do jail time and pay a lot of fines, if you don't want to do that, given the fucked up landscape and the fucked up government we have, I would suggest you stay away from fringe product lines. Reset triggers, binary triggers, slide stock, bump stocks, pistol braces, solvent traps, drop-in links, the little Glock trigger backpack, the little magic spang switch for the Glocks. I would say stay away from things like that. That would be my advice, because I think the government will fuck with people and make examples out of them. Do I think it's right? Fuck no. But I'm being practical. Because we live in a fucked up situation. We have a fucked up government that does not follow its own rules. It does attack people politically, and they will make examples of people that poke at them. And so I think, however, on the other hand, if you are an activist and you're willing to poke at them, free speech or not, okay, like I said, I'm not talking about what's moral. I'm not talking about what's constitutional. I'm talking about what is. And so if you're a content creator, I'm telling you practical advice of things I wouldn't do if you don't want to get in trouble. And again, I think it's all bullshit, but this is the world we live in. And this is the problem of living in an empire in decline. It's going to do fucked up shit as it dies. And they will take advantage of people, and they will hurt people, and they will bankrupt people. And so if you're going to take that really risky edge approach and poke the bear and then, try to test things, you can get burned. And I would say make sure your family's taken care of and make sure you have a legal fund already set aside just for this exact example. So you don't have to do a GoFundMe. The good thing is this Mac guy has a lot of people that really like him and care about him, like John Crump, and they're willing to help promote a GoFundMe. So he'll at least be able to have legal counsel, right? But a lot of people, smaller creators, might not have that. And so that's the scary part, right? Let's just say you only got a couple thousand subs and you're not really making any money. I mean, just to retain a federal attorney, just the basic retainer is like $25,000. That's for them to take your case.
And that's
right?
The kind of stuff that I was wanting to bring up and put to light for this, because I think that's where the real world implications of this for creators is not so much the case itself. It's the fact that it's open. It's an example of the real possible consequences that could come from doing stuff, not say doing things the wrong way, but like you and some other folks have mentioned, if you're going to be an activist or you're going to deal in fringe products and they keep pushing that line on what is considered fringe or what is considered everyday normal stuff, there can be real consequences, and that's something that a lot of people haven't thought about.
Well, all right. So there's a couple of people talking the thing. Where's the line? Okay, some people in the chat. So like Bacon. So no, I'm not saying that no one should challenge those things. Okay. So understand, I absolutely agree that we should challenge things. But I think in some of these cases, maybe these things, we need to challenge them in court. Maybe we should find politicians that want to repeal the Gun Control Act and National Firearms Act. And I think that's how we attack this. And I think if you're gonna, okay, and if that's not the angle, like if you just want to go and be a content creator and poke the bear or do some, let's just say, potentially risky things, then you should already have in place your life raft to protect your family, to pay for your lawyers, and to protect in case you need to go to jail. And so, I mean, I'm just being practical. Like if you're going to be that activist and that's the kind of activism you want to do, hey, I'm not going to say no. Trust me, I've done lots of activism in my year. I mean, I ran for Congress in 2010.
I think a simplified version of what Rob is trying to say to answer Bacon. He's not. I don't. And correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think you're saying don't push the line. Don't stand up. But you're saying if you're gonna stand up, make sure that you have preparations in place. Make sure you do it in a smart way.
Understand the risks. How about that? So understand that if you're going to stand up in particular ways by doing potentially illegal things, and I'm saying potentially because I don't know Matt did anything illegal. And this is where it comes back down: is that card an illegal lightning link or not, or is it just a drawing? And ultimately the government's going to make I would argue that it's probably not a lightning link. So to me, I don't know what his defense strategy is on that. Right. So I'm just saying I don't know what those arguments in court are going to be about that. Because to me, you'd want to go after those charges to say that it's not a lightning link because it's, but usually the government argues those things are readily convertible. So bar that. There's all different ways to do civil disobedience. There's all different ways to do activism. There are all different ways to do this. So if you're going to go and do things in a very public manner, you're going to put a target on you. And if you're willing to put a target on you, God bless you. But make sure you do something to, be able to handle the consequences of that in that manner. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and I'm fixing to end the stream here shortly. I just want to kind of recap the overall basic points that I think is important coming out of this, which we just touched on. Probably the most important thing is it's not just a what if that might happen. There is a real chance that the government decides to make an example out of you, regardless of whether you thought it's something to be an example of or not. And when they do, they're going to come with full might.
Yeah, but I think in this case, I think there's some nuance to it. I don't think it's as straightforward that he was a third party just taking a random advertiser that he'd never met before and all of a sudden he didn't realize it was illegal. Okay, I don't think that's the case here. Okay, and so if you're let's just say you're a creator and you just take you take some advertising pay for something and you don't know if it's illegal or not. And, they say it's legal and, you're above board and, you're not trying to hide anything and you're not being political about it. You're just taking an ad. I don't think content creators that are doing that have anything to worry about personally, because I don't think that's what the case is here. I think there was obviously a deeper relationship. There's obviously some gray area with the product. There was obviously some potentially gray area for the remuneration. And I think that it's going to be interesting to see how it comes out in court, because all those facts, regardless if we think they're a problem or not, they're going to be brought up in court. And so that's how, and it was brought up to the grand jury because it's certainly in the indictment. So understand that those points are being brought up in court. So regardless of whether earlier it was getting a little heated, whether or not you take payment, I mean, it's not conventional that someone overnights you in a box cash, right? That's usually not how it's done. In a conventional.
I'll put it in this way. I'll take a phrase from a channel of mine that I like a lot, Active Self-Protection. He does a lot of evidence-based self-protection things, and one of his statements is the rules of stupid, which in essence is don't go stupid places with stupid people at stupid times.
To do stupid things.
You can break a couple, but once you go past that, then, things is adding up. Same type of deal with that. Just because it might be on its own, it's not. But like you said,
add it up.
You add it up, or you take them 10 steps back and get that broader view, there might be more to it.
And again, John knows more about a lot of the legal stuff on the gun stuff than I do. My day job, though, I'm an expert witness in my field, so I spend a lot of time dealing with intent and I go to court a lot too. I actually go to court and testify quite a bit. So I deal with lawyers all day long too, but just not in the gun world. So I do see that intent is important, when it comes to things like negligence and things like that. And what did you know? When did you know it? Those kind of things come up and are important, and they're so nuanced. That's why it's like people that never deal with, like, again, whether you like it or I like it or the people in the audience like it or not, the way the process works, it's very nuanced. Little things mean a lot. And even
there's a reason legalese
is legalese.
Is legalese.
Exactly. And so those kind of things are very, very important. But I would say from a content creator standpoint, I think as a content creator, you need to decide what you want to do as a content creator. Like, if you want to be a content creator because you want to be an entertainer, you want to educate people, you want to like make money doing that kind of work, you like the creative side of it, great. If you want to be, and there's a business model for that, there's platforms for that. On the other hand, if you want to be an activist, okay, that's a different scenario, right?
Yeah. And I also want to touch on a third thing that hasn't been touched on yet, and that's the people that's not necessarily a full-on activist, but someone that's trying to go with trends and stuff that's popular. A lot of these, right, what we've been calling fringe products, that's the kind of stuff that gets a lot of views and stuff too. So for especially a smaller creator trying to grow their channel and stuff like that, might not be aware of the fringiness or grayness of them products and just see, hey, this is trending, let me jump on that bandwagon. And that could be that area of folks that could have these type of consequences, unknown consequences coming their way.
Well, I think that goes into either, that goes back to what we're saying. I think that makes a lot of sense. So you got to be careful about the products you're looking at. And I think in the chat, is it Vanessa Kitty? She made a good point. And this is what I was saying to Crump, and he was arguing, and this is my understanding too, is that they did redefine what a machine gun was. And a machine gun was not just a machine gun, was any device that increases, the added wording. So yeah, right there. And so they did change that. Thank you, Trump. So, so that's the difference here. So if you think about it, and this goes back to like a lot of those triggers, right? Like they were buying, I know the binary triggers are different than the forced reset trigger. And do I think a forced reset trigger is a machine gun? No, by the old definition. But they changed the definition now. The definition is not only, and maybe someone can pull that up in the chat. Go look up what the current, and I'm talking about the current definition of what a machine gun is. Okay, it's not a device that you pull the trigger, fires once. That is not the definition anymore, because they added some language in there about a device that actually goes and pulls, will shoot more or increases the rate of fire. And so they added that, and that's what killed the binary trigger. And I think that's what they're applying to. That's what they apply to bump stocks. That's what they apply to. I think they're applying to these force reset triggers, because it increases the rate of fire. And so they did go back. And that's the problem, is that, to me, the fact that even got changed, to me, is ex post facto, in my opinion, because they really are changing what most people think is very established law by an arbitrary definition. And that's ridiculous. But that's not a lightning link, because lightning link is clearly defined as, turning things into a machine gun by the old definition. So at the time this is going on, this is already a very regulated device that does, you pull the trigger and turns the gun into a machine gun. That's what a lightning link does. That's what the drop-in auto sears do. And so this is where it gets really freaking.
At the same time, even in this particular situation with the auto key card, it's not a matter of whether or not it's a lightning link. The product that are done whatever is a lightning link. The question is
that card a lightning
drawing link considered that product?
But it's not a drawing, and that's not. Here's the thing, and this is where I was trying to get.
That's the thing. But it is a drawing. It is.
It's engraved. It's engraved, and it's metal.
It's laser etched.
So
and
okay.
It's also the same thing. It's hardened metal. If you got to bend it, you have to know how to temper and all that. That's irrelevant.
Hold on. My point is.
Hold on a minute. Let me talk. This is my show, and I've let you take over for quite a while. Let me get my points across. The point of the matter is not whether the card is a lightning link. The point is, at what point does a drawing, etching, etc. become a more than just a drawing or an etching and be an actual machine gun, or be a lightning link, as that case may be?
Do you want me to respond?
Well, that's what I was saying. That's what I was trying to talk about earlier. It's y'all are all going down these nuanced rabbit holes of the nuances, and like I said, that's a whole nother topic that I'm not even getting at. I'm trying to talk to the small channels like me and the content creators specifically. That's why I say it ain't even about the product. It ain't about the key card. It ain't about a trigger. It ain't about a bump stock.
Mm-hmm.
It's people needing to have their eyes opened that some of this stuff can happen. It's not, like I said, I'm wanting to talk more about the generality of things, not the specific case for CRS and the key card. And that's where both you and Crump both kept getting caught up on, is it a machine gun? Is it a auto? Is it a lightning link? Is it readily convertible? That none of that matters when you're talking about a content creator doing business with a company with a product that is legal at the time, and then all of a sudden the government decides to change that it's not legal. Where do you need to watch out for where a line gets crossed, and how are you culpable when that line does get crossed? And that's why I think you did bring up a bunch of good points on that the number one main thing is be aware of what's going on. Do due diligence. Do some research on if you're and that's a good idea for any business practice, regardless of what you're doing, to make sure you at least have a decent idea of who and what you're getting into, who you're doing business and what you're getting into.
So I go back to, he's being charged with abetting the sale of an illegal machine gun. Okay, I got the thing open right here. That is what he's being charged with, multiple counts of that. Okay, so I think most of us here The question is a pre-etched card, a stainless card that's pre-etched with a laser, let's call it engraving, laser engraving, in the shape of a lightning link.
Also, I gotta interject right there with where you talking nuances all night. As a machinist and a gunsmith, there is a specific difference between a laser etching and an engraving. There is
that.
Same thing where y'all was talking about differences in laws and stuff.
Okay, I don't. All right. So for the sake of readily convertible, which is pertinent to this fact, because is that card? The argument is the government is saying that card is a lightning link. Okay, they're saying it's a lightning link. The defense has to challenge that, right? And so the government makes a determination whether something that is not fully already a machine gun, right?
Yeah.
They have this concept called readily available or readily convertible. And the courts have lots of precedents on what that means.
Comment that Apache Wolf just said that where'd it go? It just jumped up. The machine shop who made the actual etchings on the cards has not been charged. That was another point that I was wanting to get at, and why I was wondering about that. Do this show for with content creators as the primary audience, because, like I said, the place that actually made the product that is supposedly an illegal machine gun, that's not who they went after. They went after the person who was advertising
and selling them. Yep. And so again, I can't speak to what the prosecution, what their angle is. Also, we don't know that they're not going to, by the way, we also don't know that machine shop isn't going to be charged.
Yeah. That's at this time.
And so that's where it starts to go, okay, did the machine shop know what it is? Let's start there. Like, how was it presented to them? I'm going to guess, because in the indictment, there was multiple, the government was aware of who the machine shop is. And I think there was at least 3 different purchases or orders through that machine shop. So I would assume the government's had some conversations with that machine shop about this. So the question is, did the machine shop even know what it was? It's a metal part. It doesn't say anything about guns on it. It says patent pending on it. So that's where, and that's where it comes into, like, if the machine shop is not aware that it's, if you're not a gun guy, you wouldn't know what that is. Looks like a bottle opener.
And a laser etching facility doesn't have to be an actual machine shop like an engraving place would be. So for someone that's, and for that, it could be something, for example, like someone doing vinyl stickers. It would be the exact same process. To them, all they're doing is printing a picture.
Was it laser etched or engraved? I don't know which it is. I couldn't tell if it was actually engraved with a mill or if it was actually lasered. I don't know if they say, because I didn't see that in the indictment.
I'll have to pull up the specifics on it again, but and like I said, anybody in the chat can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure from what I remember reading and everything, there was specifically said laser etch.
Okay,
which laser etch. And that's a different, because the reason that there's a big difference in whether it's etched or engraved is that the main difference in them terms has to do with the depth that them markings are done. A laser etching could be just as simple as peeling off a layer of paint, painting it with a Cerakote, and then running the laser on for the design. Mm-hmm. That's the laser etch. That's not actually physically cutting into the metal. And even when it is on the metal, that's the difference of why there's a differentiation between etching and engraving, whether you're using acid, lasers, mills, physical hand cutting bits, whatever. That's the difference between them terms, has to do with the depth.
So, but they got to understand that the nuances you're trying to talk about depth, that's not even governed by how, like, the wording around how the government precedents for these types of things are much vaguer than that. It's like,
And that
how long does,
again, I want
so
to point out a comment with BWE. He makes a really good point on legally. It doesn't matter whether or not they knew what it was they made. If in fact they made an illegal machine gun, they're still guilty of making an illegal machine gun.
no argument. I'm saying is, I'm not arguing that at all. And I'm saying is that we don't know at this point what we don't know. We don't have any information about that, right? We don't know if the prosecution's talked to them. We don't know if prosecution still is going to go after them. We don't know. So you got to remember, even like with a lot of these high profile, here's the thing with like, courts, but believe it or not, there's lots of crap, just like with doctors, there's lots of crappy lawyers. There's lots of crappy prosecutors. A lot of times people are overcharged and it botches their case when lesser charges might stick. Lots of cases, they want to go after the big fish and they're not worried about incidental people, innocent, like people that maybe they might consider innocent. They may not want to bother them because they actually think they're not involved with it. So, I mean, you got to remember the prosecutors in all legal cases have a lot of power and they do make decisions about, does it make sense to go after this guy or not, even if they could legally get after them.
Yeah, a couple of people in the comments are confirming they were etched and not engraved. That's what I was getting at, because if it's an etching, then it is literally just a drawing. That's barely enough to run your fingernail across. That's not enough for you to be able to cut it out based on just that mark.
I think
without doing the work. And then to say at that point, then we get it the which it's a whole nother conversation again. But then you're getting to the point of what constitutes as readily convertible or not readily convertible.
Well, I can tell. I can give you.
Well, I said that's for another time. But can you make it quicker just by bending a coat hanger or a piece of flat sheet metal versus trying to cut it out based on that drawing? That's what we're getting at. It's not about readily convertible or not. It's about at what point does a drawing become a part?
Dude, I could send you a drawing right now, and there's nothing illegal about an actual drawing, but this is a physical product. It's not just a drawing. It is a metal product. So you understand that a drawing is a piece of paper or a digital file, right? That's a drawing. This is not just a drawing. This is a piece of metal with a drawing on it.
Hold on a minute. A laser etched piece of stainless steel is considered a drawing and a medium if you go into an art place. So what is the difference? Like I said, that's the difference between etching and engraving.
No, I don't think
etching is not a machining term.
Okay, I'm going to tell you. So
etching
I got the list of
art term, for which therefore, like I said, that becomes what is a drawing or what is not. Like I said, that it don't even matter at all what documents you got. Like I said, that conversation is a different conversation. It's not what I'm talking about right now. I'm not saying that, I don't care if you got documents, you're wrong. I'm saying that evidence is for another conversation.
Sure.
That's all I was getting on that. Like I said, I wanted to stop it before we went too far down that rabbit hole on, made or not made, readily made or not made. Like I said, the main point of the podcast was getting the word out for people, that haven't seen stuff, and more importantly for the content creators to be aware. You do have to keep an eye out on what kind of things you do videos on, and more importantly, what kind of companies you might work with or take sponsorships on those products, because something can happen and it's like you can't think of what a criminal's going to do because they don't think like a normal person. You can't think of what the government's going to do ahead of time because they change their mind and change the rules to fit what they want to do.
But you can look at what the government has actively been saying they want to get rid of and the things that they've actively said that they're taking public comments on and use that as a guide, right? And so yeah, I don't think it's that vague. I think that content creators can use some common sense and a little bit of due diligence, and and especially if you're a content creator that might be an FFL, right? You should have. I think an FFL should have a lot more knowledge. Let's be honest, right? So even if you're a content creator but you're also an FFL, it's hard for you to argue that you don't know what something is or could be easily used for or turned into.
Analogous, that goes along with like a boxer or a black belt fighter when it comes to a fight, and then legal definition terms, whatever, their body is considered a lethal weapon, which upgrades that charge because they should know not to get in them situations. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, they should know.
So yeah, and so I understand what you're saying about the engraving. I know, trust me, I'm a welder. I make stuff too, so I understand there's differences between engraving. I have a 3D printer. Like, trust me, I understand engraving, and I know the difference between etching.
Well, and it's like you said, it's these differences in these terms that they keep. Everything is going to come down to is what the difference is between things. Not whether it's this or like you was talking earlier. In general, everything is coming down to being, nuances.
Yeah. But I would say, and I'm not, I will give that. We'll have another conversation about some of this stuff about what we could argue about. But I would say there is a big difference between a digital or paper drawing and a piece of metal that has the exact shape that can be cut out. I think because that can be readily turned into something, and that's a part, right? It's not a completed part, but that's let's just call it an uncompleted part is different than a drawing. And so yeah, think of it like that.
Thing like the receivers.
I love receivers.
At what point is something considered complete or not complete? Because
I would assume
by law, that's all they care about is it either is or it isn't. There is no part way. There is no in between. It is or it isn't.
Well, I was looking at the new Defense Distributed with 100% mill and how they were doing that at SHOT Show. And I think, all right, if you want to think about the future, I think 80% are going to go away. That's my honest opinion. And I think it's going to be all about printing, and it's going to be about milling 100% lowers because here's the thing. I'm going to give you a hint. If you're a content creator, I probably would be a little leery at this point about even 80% stuff. And I love JSD Supply, don't get me wrong. But if you're saying is if you want to be on the safe and narrow track, sponsors like, some people that support 3D printing and home built guns, we know they're under attack. We know they're under scrutiny. So if you're doing that so I would say if I had to guess, and I'm guessing, I would have to say that if you had to pick and you're going to assign a risk value to working with a particular type of product, I would say, getting a holster sponsor or a pistol belt sponsor is probably a lot safer than people that support 3D printed guns or solvent traps or even, pistol braces at this point. I'm not saying any of those products are bad, and I love the sponsors. I love JSD Supply stuff. Don't get me wrong. I have some of their stuff. And Jordan's amazing. So like I said, but if I'm strictly saying if as a content creator, which we keep coming back to, if you're going to assign risk, yeah, there's certain products I'd stay away from.
Yeah.
Which sucks, but that's what I would do if you're concerned.
What I was mentioning earlier too, going along with that is that the line of what products is fringe or not fringe keeps on moving for like the last 3-4 years. That's been one of the biggest growing product categories, let's say, has been 80% in build it yourself frames.
Yep. Which there's nothing wrong with. There's nothing illegal about home built guns. I build guns. I love building guns.
Building your own guns has been legal since before there was a country.
And by the way, you know damn well that I'm all on board with the 3D printed gun community, with support of the Gunmakers Match and building my own shit. So just understand, I am not saying anything bad about any of those things. But if I have to analyze risk,
yeah, that's
we know. Look at the. So here's the thing: the risk is, what are the politicians talking about? So let's start there. I think that's a good place to start, though. Okay,
it's not. I do want to mention. I don't know if you're aware of it, but they did come out with a date that they're going to be actually releasing the rule changes on the frames and receivers, and it's supposed to be coming out in June of this year.
Oh,
that's only just a few months away.
Well, I will tell you that I'm already planning that I have, I'm going to be, I'll just tell you this, that I'm going to be affected by these new laws, and I don't think they're going to be in our favor. And so I think that ultimately right now people should plan for those changes, because it's not going to be fair. And I don't believe it's going to be right or constitutional, but I think they're going to fuck us. So let's start there. They're probably going to fuck us on those things. So just take it. That's my advice. But if you want a radar, look at what the politicians are trying to ban. Just start there. What are they trying to ban? Because we already know those parts and products and the people that service those. We already know that that spectrum is stuff that's going to be under fire. So they're going to try to make examples out of those things.
And then at the same time, them same items, because of potential bans and this and that, demand goes up, popularity goes up, therefore content creators, that's when a lot of them trend jumper type,
of course,
pages, like I mentioned earlier, that's where they're gonna
here's the thing, good content creators do, they go look at the Google Search Console and look what trends in they look up the keywords in their industry, or use SEMrush or HubSpot. They do the keyword analysis and see what people are searching for, and yes, things are topical are going to rank. And so yes,
and that's like taught in like basic social
SEO.
media 101 type thing. But the difference is, we don't have all that, like a makeup, for example, makeup channel. They're not constantly changing what makeups is allowed or not allowed.
It's very unregulated as an industry. So, but here's a way I would work on if I was going to be working as creators. Here's the thing, you can still talk about those things. You can still create content about those things. You could have, clubhouse rooms with panels on those things. So you still benefit from the SEO of those things trending without having to buy one. Right? You don't have to take a sponsorship from those things if you're concerned about an attachment, but you absolutely can talk about those things. You could even have, people on the panel that come on and that are from that industry and talk about those discussions, have debates about it, and absolutely leverage the SEO on that. You don't actually have to buy the thing. You don't have to demonstrate the thing, and you don't have to necessarily take a sponsorship from someone associated with that thing to still benefit. And I think as a content creator myself, that's how I would kind of view those grayer kind of things. Like,
and then going back to what you had mentioned earlier about grandfathering in things, there's no guarantee of anything to be grandfathered in. There's no law anywhere that says they have to grandfather in something just because it's been legal and people have bought it.
That actually is a constitutional thing. You can't be prosecuted for it's expo. You're protected from ex post facto prosecution. So
that doesn't mean that they can't confiscate it and take your thing.
That's absolutely. Absolutely. Like, and that's where it's like the bump stock. So that's why the bump stock thing went to the Supreme Court, because it was technically, undue, takings, right? They're confiscating and things of that nature. So, and I don't disagree with you. Like, that's right. Ex post facto. Thank you. But so I absolutely agree with you. Like I said, I'm not trying to, like, by any stretch, like, say I agree with any of this prosecution at all. And I'm just saying is, I'm trying to be practical and recognize the landscape we live in, that we need to understand that sometimes we take risks with the things that we're doing, even if they're wrong, that we're in this environment because of the Constitution, but we do have to take these risks. And just, I don't want to see people get fucked that don't know the risks. Now, some people, this is where it gets a little.
I think that's the biggest point that I was trying to get at too, is exactly what you was just saying. And there's a lot of the folks that might think they're cool, or just like dipping their toe in pushing that line without thinking about how big of a deal that line is that they're actually touching, not just the people that is deliberately, forcefully pushing that line.
So if I wanted to take an activism take on, say, like lightning links, I would recommend you go to Thingiverse or go to Gatalog and download the damn files. Make sure that file is spread wide, far and wide. Those files, there's lots of interesting files up there. Go download them, store them, pass them off to your friends. What you don't want to do necessarily, though, is make a target, sell those things, make a business out of it, and thumb your nose at the government about it. But there's ways to be civilly disobedient. And if you believe in freedom and you want to prepare for, things in the future, that information's out there now. And the great thing is that information is out there now, and we can search for those things now. And those things are available to download now. And you can, and yes, making a lightning link is easy with a Dremel. Okay. This is not complicated. Okay. It's not complicated. It really isn't. And literally a ruler and a marker and a Dremel and a little piece of like 14 or 16 gauge, and you got it, right? Not complicated. These things are really, really simple things, but AR-15s are simple things. So I think ultimately there are ways to spread information, and it's already been adjudicated numerous times that 3D gun files, 3D printed gun files are free speech. Code is free speech. That has been adjudicated numerous times, and we've won that. So I think that's where we focus, because we have those wins there. Let's spread that information. That's important. That's where we start. Spread that code.
And that information and knowledge and passing that on.
Yes.
Where the real value of things are.
Exactly. So to me, I like to be practical. Okay. We live in a landscape where you poke the bear is going to poke you back. Okay. You're going to do that, and you're going to take money for doing that. You're putting yourself at risk. So just understand there's a risk with that. Now, as a content creator, okay, here's the thing though. I just went to SHOT Show. My God, by the way, it was one of the coolest, gun shows I've ever been to, right? It was my second SHOT Show. But I can tell you, dude, there's lots of small mom and pop gun manufacturers, part manufacturers, accessory manufacturers. If you're a content creator and you can only find a fringe person to work with, you're not working very hard. There's thousands of manufacturers and part creators and accessories that would love to do small deal partnerships because they can't afford the big content creators. Let's start there. Like, some of these big content creators won't talk to you for less than 25 or 50 grand at this point, some higher. So there's a lot of smaller organizations and shops that do great things. I wasn't joking. Like, there's great pistol belt manufacturers out there. There's great web manufacturers. There's lots of veteran-owned businesses that only have 2 or 3 employees. They can't afford to go sponsor Colin Noir, right? But they can't.
Good thing too. All of them accessory type things that you're talking about is still things that you, as
are
a
not
gun
regulated.
person, you need to have.
And they're not regulated.
They're not heavily regulated. And there's a whole bunch of competition of other manufacturers of that same thing.
Correct.
For you to have a variety of folks to reach out to.
Exactly.
And I'm living proof of a small channel being able to work with different companies by putting in the work to it. Like you said, you don't have to necessarily rely on the fringe products or them just because it's trending to jump on the bandwagon and all of that kind of stuff. But right. It does require putting in the work.
You got to do the work. And Cody, you do the work. You're out there talking to people and networking. I know that. And I've seen you come a long way in a short period of time with getting yourself involved with the community. And so you're doing the work, and it will come. And so it just comes down to, though, don't spend all that time in doing the work and then deciding that I can only go with this, let's just say, okay, let's just say regulated or gray area. You don't have to go there because there's plenty of non-regulated things that are really important to the gun world, right? And there's all sorts of manufacturers. So again, practically speaking, there's lots of non-regulated stuff that you could use to get sponsorships for. And I would encourage that, at least when you're starting out, and then until maybe you get a better footing or an understanding of where the edges are.
And I don't have any. Actually, some of the small folks that's kind of starting out, they're already going to be a little more naturally shy to things and be more apprehensive approaching folks. So they're not necessarily going to be them type of people that would necessarily be knowingly taking them risks on the fringe products or this and that, because they're going to try to look into it. But someone that's starting out that's actually trying to grow, not just like doing it for
a hobby,
shits and giggles,
right?
They're gonna already have that built-in cautiousness versus someone that might have been doing a channel for a little while now, and then kind of might be like already have been tiptoeing that line and getting a little further across than they might necessarily have intended to be.
But I'll say something even more controversial though, because I've been on social media for a long time. If I was a content creator and I wanted to make a living as a content creator, I wouldn't go in guns. I wouldn't do guns at all. And a couple reasons why. The biggest platforms that can pay the most are demonetizing and straight out eliminating guns, and that's going to be a continuing sliding scale. And the smaller platforms don't pay as well. Just they don't have the body, they don't have the eyeballs.
Yeah, that's what I said. The volume makes a difference.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like I've talked to other content creators that have like a gun channel and then have another totally different industry channel, and they make like 10 times the amount of money, and that other thing has nothing to do with guns, and they have a really nice quality of life. And so, I've encouraged like other people, like if you really want to make money on YouTube or by doing content creation, guns is not the way to be. And I would even with crypto, I'll tell you this, the gun thing fucks us with our crypto, by the way. And because guess what? The biggest crypto exchange in the United States won't list us because of the gun thing. If I want to make a bunch of money in crypto and just like already hit, be a billionaire, which I probably could have in 4 years of working on this, I would have chosen a completely different world than guns. But I'm a passionate gun player.
I can think of a couple of different industries that could have possibly had different results versus now. But that's a whole nother thing, which me and you have talked about this before, of how aggravating and frustrating it is that guns are literally a constitutionally protected, product item, but yet they're
politics.
The thing exactly that's what.
But it's just like with YouTube, right? YouTube's demonetizing gun people left and right, and it's the same thing. It's not illegal. It's just politics, right? It's just their own internal policies that do it. There's nothing that prevents, and we're working on some things with our project to get. We're doing some. Again, it's all about the nuance. We're doing some nuances to pivot. That's why we're getting into NFTs and some other things that gets us a little bit away from guns. We're still doing guns, but we're getting outside of guns in addition to that. And we're doing that specifically.
We'll diversify.
We're diversifying because we have to give the cover to the left-leaning exchanges that are all in San Francisco, Seattle, and New York, which all are run by liberals that hate guns. Dude, they straight up told us this, right? They said, our compliance guys like what you're doing and how you're doing it. They just don't like the gun thing, and they're really hesitant. So they're like, give us something else. So, I think that's what I think. The thing is, I think, and my gut is, I feel bad for this Matt guy because I think he probably got in over his head. That's what I think. I don't think he was prepared for what they threw at him, and he wasn't ready to cover his family and having a legal fund and things. And I think he didn't calculate the risks that he was doing, whatever he's doing, but just even getting involved with that. I think I feel really bad for the guy because that fucking sucks. I couldn't imagine a young guy like that with young kids and a wife dependent on him having to deal with this shit. So I have a lot of sympathy for him. And it's like, and I don't want to see other guys get in that situation because they just aren't really thinking that that poking the bear. It's like, what do they say? It's like, too many people don't understand that you can't talk to people in person like you talk to them on the internet, right?
Yeah.
And then people get shocked when someone punches them in the face, right? And I think we run into that a lot, right? We think we can say
there's a lot of stuff that wouldn't have been said 15 years ago before social media and stuff was big. People, and there's half of the stuff people say online right now that you wouldn't say to the same person face to face because there's that level of perceived anonymity or perceived barrier, that protection there.
So I'll give you some other unsolicited advice for any influencers who want to do like this. Don't expand what you're doing to outside of guns, but keep it in maybe camping, maybe overlanding, maybe prepping, maybe other topics that aren't just firearm per se, but are maybe tangent to the firearms industry. I think you'll have better luck if you had a more diversified channel. And then when you're getting into the gun specific stuff, maybe just do verbals, like have like sessions and educational things about it, but not maybe display the guns or shooting the guns. If I wanted to still be in that space and have my 1 foot in there, I think I would start talk about Yeti coolers and shit. You want to talk about a big market? They're $1 billion company. Go get Yeti as a freaking, sponsor. Go get Traeger as a sponsor. Start doing reviews on those kind of things too, in addition to your gun content. So you're more of like an outdoor channel that maybe does hunting stuff. Go, do an episode on like the Arctic polar seal skin canvas coats that they wear, these anoraks, and have like the 2 or 3 big suppliers send you anoraks, and then do a session on those. And so to me, I think there's a way you could still cover this kind of gun content that we all love, but still get enough sponsors and also not piss off the bear of YouTube too much, that way you could still make money from it.
Yeah, that's the sad thing, is there's really no way to make a full-time living just doing gun content by itself. The channels and people that are successful at it, if you go and look at any of them, they've been doing it a long time. And I hate to, and there's no not saying that it has anything to do with it, just that it is similarity for the multi-level marketing type things. Anybody that is actually making successful money in any of them multi-level marketing things is not from the multi-level marketing thing. It's from lectures, brochures, DVDs, all the extra stuff that's separate from that. Same thing with a gun channel. The separate stuff could be something as simple as like what you say. You're going to do a hunting video, do a review on the grill, do a review on, how you're this knife that you're going to cut it with, or the lighter that there's a lot of overlap in a lot of different ways, and not even necessarily just having to do anything outdoors. No. Well, most gun guys are into cars or stuff like that, or saying, I just seen you grab a bow, archery and gear and stuff like that. I mean, one of the biggest channels that was one of the first ones that I watched, that I actually bought things from watching them, is a budget gear channel that for like the first year that I was watching him, I don't think there was anything on the channel that was over $25. And that was the like niche that he was in, is the budget, but yet, work still quality, but yet, low price instead of anything else. And a lot of that, no guns, and whether it be scope, belt.
You know Hank Strange, right? Yeah. So Hank Strange has this whole RV channel, and he's really been going gangbusters on his RV stuff. And he said it's like really growing much faster than his gun stuff is.
Well, it's actually, that's another thing. If you look at different topics or categories that are like growing a lot over the last year, and overlanding, camping, van life, stealth camping, setting up your car for stuff like that, for in a parking lot type deal. All that type of content has exploded in just the last couple of years now.
You know who was I saw an interesting channel, and this was now this is a very specific thing, but this attorney was really awesome. And this attorney, what she did is she would literally take like government regulations and then write them up real time. and write how this doesn't make sense. This is what this means. And she would like literally with a pen go down the entire regulation and either explain what it is or why it's bad or why it's good and what it means in layman's terms. And I thought that was really, really good. That was a really interesting niche from like social media standpoint. And by the way, it's safe. Like you're not doing anything controversial there. And so, I think realistically, I think content creators, if they stay away from the stuff that the government has verbally put crosshairs on, they say, we don't like this. This is going away. So in the crypto world, right, the government's coming out with stuff against certain things about crypto. So one of the things they're saying is they're going after stable coins and exchanges. Well, Tusk isn't a stable coin and we're not an exchange. But we understand, like, okay, where are the crosshairs even in our kind of weird gray area? We're paying it. I mean, I pay attention to the regulations coming down both in the gun world and, in the crypto world. And so it's like, it's the same thing. It's like, you just like, so, okay, let's stay away from that thing, because we know if you're that thing, they're going to definitely be coming after you. And you, at least if you are that thing, you need to be prepared for it. Like, what are you going to do in a year or two when that's banned? And so, and how are you going to, and if, I look at it like this. If you're making a part for a gun and you have to post legal letters on your website and you have to have testimonials that people's opinions that they don't think it's illegal, that's already a red flag to me, that you're treading on something that's gray, right? Let's start there. There's a red flag right there. Okay. If they have to like do testimonials about it as a content creator, to me, I would take that as a red flag that maybe I'm going to rethink this product. Maybe I should go do Quick Clot. Maybe. You never know. It's going to be there. There's lots of interesting things out there.
But yeah, I think I'm fixing to wrap this up. We've been going for 2 hours now, and I think all of it boils down to what you was just talking about and what we kind of covered just recently. The most important thing is just be aware. Do some research. Don't just work with some company because it's the cool thing to do, or the big channels is doing it, or for whatever reason. Make sure you do a little bit of research on what it is you're going to get yourself into, because there can be much bigger consequences than you even consider. And it's very easy to cross that line and not be able to get back over it once you crossed it without knowing it. When you're not informed, that you don't know where that line is.
Right.
But yeah, let's say I think we're fixing to head out. I'm gonna give Rob here a minute to give his shout out on I see you wearing the Tusk, and most of the people in here know you from Tusk, but just go ahead and let folks know where to find you.
Sure. I want to say something to Morningstar. The federal government's creating their own cryptocurrency. That's the one that's going to be the mark of the beast. Individually created by private parties and private groups, cryptocurrencies are not the same thing. So yeah, I'm just the co-founder of Tusk. We are a cryptocurrency that is definitely open to all industries that are marginalized, and especially the 2A industry. We were started by gun guys, and we love the industry. We are focused on supporting lawful gun retailers, and we kind of think of Tusk as just kind of like a kind of an insurance policy, continuity of business kind of insurance policy for when the banks finally pull the plug. So if you guys are interested in learning more about what we're doing, check us out at TUSC.network. That's just TUSC.network.
Awesome. And I want to give a big shout out to all y'all out there in the chat. I've seen a lot of the regular folks out there, and I've seen a few new folks. And just real quick before we go, I want to point y'all again to the GoFundMe link is in the description, and it's in the bottom ticker of the video. And we will be back next week on Thursday for our regular 7 p.m. Thursday evening Swamp Talk episode. And on that note, y'all be good.